محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا أقسم بيوم القيامة ولا أقسم بالنفس اللوامة. أيحسب الإنسان أن لن نجمع عظامه بلى قادرين على أن نسوي بنانه. بل يريد الإنسان ليفجر أمامه يسأل أيان يوم القيامة. فإذا برق البصر وخسف القمر وجمع الشمس والقمر. فإذا برق البصر وخسف القمر وجمع الشمس والقمر يقول الإنسان يومئذ أين المفر. كلا لا وزر إلى ربك يومئذ المستقر. ينبأ الإنسان يومئذ بما قدم وأخر. بل الإنسان على نفسه بصيرة ولو ألقى معاذيره. لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. إن علينا جمعه وقرآنه. فإذا قرأناه فاتبع قرآنه ثم إن علينا بيانه. كلا بل تحبون العاجلة وتذرون الآخرة. وجوه يومئذ ناظرة إلى ربها ناظرة. ووجوه يومئذ باسرة تظن أن يفعل بها فاقرة. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بفضل الله، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الحمد لله والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله، اللهم لعنهم جميعا. ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله أجمعين محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. It is narrated that the sixth holy Imam, al-Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammed al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, says, إن الله عز وجل يحب البيت الذي فيه العرس ويبغض البيت الذي فيه الطلاق وما من شيء أبغض إلى الله عز وجل من الطلاق. Allah the Exalted verily loves the house wherein a wedding is taken place and despises the house when a divorce is in process, and nothing that is permissible is more abominable to Allah than divorce. But in this, it doesn't say more permissible, but I'm using the word because it's in other hadith. Otherwise, if you were to read it, مَا مِن شَيْءٍ أَبْغَضَ إِلَى اللَّهِ, you would think that it's the most hated thing, but because of other narrations, you know, it is permissible. Imagine divorce as a demolition squad. A demolition squad, are they good or are they bad? If it's Masjid Dirar, a mosque that was built after Rasulullah had built Masjid Quba, they built Masjid Dirar, the Munafiqeen, to counter Masjid Quba or Quba. Rasulullah commanded them to destroy Masjid Dirar. Or if it is the destruction of Sanama or Sanamay or Asnam Quraysh, then this is also a good thing, destroying the idols of Quraysh. But if the demolition is like the demolition of the Baqiyah, the shrines of Baqiyah, and the demolition of every holy place that the Prophet ﷺ was at, then it's bad. So having a demolition squad or destruction is relative to what I'm destroying. Okay? But before we start, we need to take our precautions. We need to understand, just like with demolition, what it is I'm removing. House that has TNT in it. I don't just go get a big metal ball. Or, if I have a wharf full of ammonium nitrate, I don't let any water come in so it can blow up a whole city. I need to think about what it is that I'm about to destroy. Is there compounds that I shouldn't be dealing with? Is there hazardous material? Is there asbestos? What is it that I'm removing? I need to understand. And likewise, when it comes to divorce, before I go down and I take up this process, what is it that I'm pulling apart? Because sometimes divorce is a good thing and sometimes it is the worst thing. It depends on what it is. So we have to understand how great divorce is and realize that the breaking up of families is the origin of many criminal lifestyles. Many criminals. You look at people that began a life, I remember the first book I ever read about a criminal life. It was a book that my older brother had lying around I don't know if you were reading it for high school or uni, I don't know what it was. It was called 58 Years, the book. The Life of William John Mundy. He was a guy that was living in Ermington, and he got sentenced to 58 years non-parole. 58 years. This is before the scaffs. This was something huge. No one had seen sentencing like this for someone that had not committed murder. William John Mundy didn't even commit murder. So when I sat there and I read the story, and you think Ermington, wow, this guy's living in an expensive area. No, Ermington back then was like, Broadmeadows, so you can understand, or a bit like, the way Redfern used to be back in the other days, or Claymore, or so, in case someone gets offended. But that's what they are. Slum's a slum. You can't just change it. They're boroughs. That's just the way that they were and the way that they are. They're like that. So that's how it was. And this guy lived in a broken home where his father would teach him how to pick locks, how to do this and that, because his father was in and out and this is where I learned things like Minto and Mittagong. They weren't cities for me, they were juvenile detention centres, and I learned them from this book. I was young, I was reading this book, and this is what I understood from this book. But I always focused on one thing. This guy was from a broken family. It does not mean if I'm from a broken family, I'm going to add up wrong. But it means it's going to make my case even stronger. It's going to contribute to this. It's going to help for this to happen. And not only does it affect the children, it affects the wider community. One of the things that the West, in order to make hijab-less women widespread, they would pay women in Baghdad, they would actually pay women to walk the streets without hijab. When I say without hijab, I'm not talking about what the shameless species that walk around today. I'm talking about these people would take off their scarf and just walk around. Just something that simple. And walk in the street, at first they would actually, because they were all covered from head to toe. Back then, they would have this mlaya, they would have this pushiyya, and they would actually just get them to lift it. In fact, there was a sheikh in Mashhad, because it was widespread, because back then it was the time of Rida al-Pahlawi in Iran. In Iraq, it was the times of Malik Faisal. In Turkey, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. And in the time in Iran, one of the sheikhs in Mashhad, Sheikh al-Kafi, rahmatullah alayhi, was an alim. He actually, when the women started removing their face veils, he said, this is a sign of the dhuhr. We're almost there. So imagine getting this guy and bringing him down. He would drop dead on the spot. Take him to Iran and try and pick the one that's actually wearing hijab. He dropped dead. He won't believe what he's seeing. This is what they did in order to make it normal for you to take off your hijab. And the same thing with divorce. When we start seeing divorce getting widespread, we start perceiving divorce as an option. Not an option for serious issues, an option, miseji, I'm not happy with this, I'm out. I bought the car, it's red, I don't like the colour red, I'm selling it, I'm buying a green car. Like that. Once again, another narration. Al-Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammed al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Brings us back to the same thing. ما من شيء مما أحله. Of the things that he's made halal. The first one I didn't mention this. Allah Azza wa Jal أبغض إليه من الطلاق. See, first I didn't mention halal. This is the hadith with the hilli in it. Why is the question, is divorce, why is it that divorce is looked down upon? Why is divorce scorned? Why is divorce seen in such a bad light? See, divorce is trending worldwide. It's an in thing right now. In fact, before it used to be the exception, now it is the norm. The first option, people, just in the last month, I had people contact me, several people, I want a divorce. And you know what I'd do? I'd say, give me wikala, I'd take it and I'd leave them. A week later, they said, did you do the divorce? I said, no. They go, we're back together. And that's all I do. I take it and just let them play around until they get back together. Because I don't want to divorce them, because I know it's just, but the day you live in, if I say no, see, you know when a charging bull comes in, what does the matador do? Does he stop the charging bull? If he does, you know, he'll either be in ICU or he'll be in one of those beds in the morgue, in one of the fridges there. No, what he does, he just lifts up the red cloth and the bull keeps going forward, charging. Someone's charging, ahla wa sahla. That's as far as you're going to go. Then they decide, no one's stopping us. Then they start to work things out. But if you divorce them immediately, that's it. Strike while the iron's hot, it's over, they move on. We have many issues to look at. I said it causes waves, families fall apart, broken marriages, I said, and friendships are made with marriage, you know that. Friendships end with divorce. Because you become friends through marriage. You know, someone will come up to you and you say, oh, do you know this village? Yes. Sohorna from that village. Our son-in-law is from that village. So it becomes like a village for you. You know, it becomes part of your, so when you meet people from that village, you have some kind of relationship. From that country, you have some kind of relationship with them. And when it's over, what do they say? Don't ever marry any Antarcticans. They're the worst people on the planet. You know, all their penguins and stuff. Keep away from them. And they'll cut off a whole relationship just like that. Now, if I want to get divorced, I got to look, do the pros outweigh the cons? Do the positives outweigh the negatives? That's when I go for this divorce. Is it worth having the stigma of being divorced? This before used to be a stigma towards divorcees. In fact, a divorcee is what? Is it a masculine term? It was a feminine term. In fact, because there was no such thing as a divorced man. Did you know that? In Arabic, we don't call a woman that's divorced mutallaqa. We just say this. When we don't say divorcee and we don't turn it into a feminine word. Just like when a woman breastfeeds in Arabic, we call her what? Murda'. We don't say murda'. Why? We say murda' because men can't, hold on. This month I might be corrected. You know, according to the last emojis, men can actually get pregnant and breastfeed. So because a man cannot breastfeed, the woman is murda'. Woman, we say muwallid. We don't say muwallida. Because a woman takes up the masculine because he's no feminine. Now, this is the same here. The woman was the divorcee. Now, men are considered this. When a man wants to get married, they say, is he divorced? They're not interested. The stigma is there for both in this world that we live together. And this is the destruction of the greatest institution, which is marriage, the fabric of society, which is the family, and the quest for people to destroy the family. Think about this. why would they force you into allowing a yes vote for the sodomites so they can get married? Why? They don't believe marriage is Islamic. It's Christian and it's Jewish. And all these three religions condemn sodomites to death in their books. These books are allowed and legitimate to be read in Australia. They're not called banned books here. Not yet anyway. These three books, the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Quran, all condemn sodomites. Where did marriage come from? Religion. So why would they want to get married? To destroy this structure. The family structure is what's targeted, so there's no such thing as family anymore. Why? They don't want you to raise your children. They want the system to raise your children. See how many years ago, about 20 years ago, people were so averse to childcare centres. Right now, in this room, and you are the religious people in the community, what percentage of you do not have your kids? Don't put up hands. Do not have your kids in childcare or preschools. At first you'd say no way, but eventually you follow the system. You follow. They raise your kids. Even or do not be, a lot of people are misled thinking that Islamic schools are what? Islamic. They're not. They're secular. Why? They still get subsidies from the government. If you get subsidies from the government, then you teach the syllabus of the government. Do you understand what I mean? They just say it's Islamic. We'll just get you illuminated in any way we can, and we'll call it Islamic. But far from it. They're secular schools like every other school. That's just the way it is. So the whole, from birth onwards, the family has been removed. Mother and father have to work. Not partners, you're not in a business. I get a lot of people, a woman will send a message, my partner. And I say, you own a business? She says, no, it's my husband. And I said, then why are you calling him your partner? You're even using their terminology. You're using the terms that they want you to use. It's your husband and it's your wife. And we've just gone down this path. We run down this path, not realizing this is what is intended. And this is why Islam teaches opposition. And they're in opposition against divorce. In fact, Al-Rasul, Al-A'zam, Rasulullah Muhammed sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, says, أيما امرأة سألت زوجها الطلاق في غير ما به بأس. He says, if any woman asks her husband for divorce, when we say ba'as, we're talking about when you're asking for divorce for a bad reason. So if it's for a legitimate reason that you're actually asking for a divorce, it's your right. I want a divorce from my husband because my husband is an abusive so-and-so. Gets in the house physically, mentally, psychologically abusive. I can't live with him. Or I'm married. Some women, they're married to the most negative human beings on the planet. Some men still think that their wife is a 17th century handmaid, servant. He walks in, he speaks that she cannot even open her mouth. He breathes. I know what planet these people live in. Some people have this opinion. But if you go into the house, أنا ربكم الأعلى. She says, I want a divorce. I can't live with this guy. This guy's come from a time capsule. Don't know. When they say, when someone wins the Darwin Award, they're those people that, that they win the Darwin Award if they're gone, as they say. Anyway, he says, if any woman asks for divorce without a reason, a proper reason, he says, this is the Prophet, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, says, فَحَرَامٌ عَلَيْهَا رَائِحَةُ الْجَنَّةِ. Haram. That the scent, the aroma of paradise, you want to talk about the aroma of paradise that can be smelt for thousands of years in its distance. This is how it travels. Cannot be smelt by the woman that requests, doesn't get divorced, requests. طبعا إلا من تاب. Except those that repent. Request divorce for a stupid reason. Why are you getting divorced? How could you even request it? What for? What is the purpose of asking for this divorce? Another thing. Allah Azza wa Jal, when He mentions the Arsh, and when we talk about the Arsh, you read the narrations, you read the verses, الَّذِينَ يَحْمَلُونَ الْعَرْشِ, the angels that uphold the throne. Once again, the throne, okay, we're not Wahhabis. The throne isn't a chair where God's sitting on it. The Wahhabis actually say that it makes a noise like a rocking chair. Did you know that? It makes a teeth sound when He rocks on it. So God hasn't greased His own chair, according to them. This is actual fact. He's got a chair, alaykum salam, that He sits on, they say, and it makes a teeth sound. So if someone can get him some WD-40 to fix the problem for him. This is what they say. So one of the Catholic cardinal comes up to Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. He says, Allah, is He carried by the throne, or does the throne carry Allah? Is Allah carries the throne, or does the throne carry Allah? And then Amir al-Mu'mineen says, the verse in the Quran says, the heavens and the earth are carried by God. Forget the throne. The entire creation is carried by God. What that means is beyond their understanding. That this Arsh has a lofty station, however. It's mentioned so often. Allah says in it, He calls it Al-Arsh, He says Al-Kareem. Doesn't mean Arsh Kareem is generous. When you say Rasulun Kareem, it means what? Noble. Someone of nobility. The Arsh has nobility. Arsh, another verse says, Azim. It's a great throne. This throne, in some narrations, last year, because I need to bring this point, last year when I gave a speech about the anatomy of divorce, I mentioned something in that speech. It's different to this. You can go listen to it if you want. I gave a point where I said I only found 2 narrations. I didn't search well enough. About the rocking of the throne. The throne is rocked. It shakes sometimes for good things. When someone says La ilaha illallah, the throne is shaken by that. There are good things where the throne shakes. Then there are bad things that cause the throne to shake. And these are the things we need to fear. One of them, the Imam says, إِذَا بَكَى الْيَتِيمِ اهْتَزَّ لَهُ الْعَرْشِ. That if an orphan is an involuntary broken family. If the orphan cries, the throne shakes because of his weeping. You think about this, in Islam, the ta'rif for orphan or yatim is different to other people. In the animal kingdom, an orphan is an animal that's lost their mother. For human beings, the orphan's the one that's lost their father. This is what an orphan is. And someone that's lost both mother and father is a greater form of an orphan. When the orphan weeps, because when your child weeps, you're still there to console them. They're there. But when the orphan weeps, who's there to console them? When they weep, the throne shakes. When one of the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam died, the Imam says, هذا ولي من أولياء الله حقا اهتز عرش الرحمن لموته. So when someone of a lofty status dies, the throne of Allah will shake. Another one, the Messenger of God says, إذا مدح الفاجر اهتز العرش وغضب الرب. إذا مدح الفاجر. You know when some immoral person is praised? Do you remember when our mate in the United Kingdom, you know, the pluralist that thinks every path leads to Rome, when he read the Fatiha for Prince Philip? Do you remember that? Huh? He read the Fatiha, and there's people that still actually like him and listen to him. He read the Fatiha, Allah yuhshra ma Prince Philip, inshallah. You know? So he read the Fatiha, Prince Philip. When someone praises a fajr, imagine someone that is immoral. You praise them. And Prince Philip's apparently immoral. He's a racist. If you researched him, you research Prince Philip, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He's not a normal. Prince Charles is 100 times better than Prince Philip. Just to give you 100 times less worse, I should say. Just to give you an idea, and this person read the Fatiha for him. Well, he's given his loyalty to the United Kingdom. That's good, you know. But anyway, if you praise the Fajr, the throne of Allah shakes and Allah is angered. Imagine this. This is how grand the shaking of the throne is. That the Messenger of God, Ruhi lahul fida, says, Tazawwaju. He says, get married. ولا تطلقوا فإن الطلاق يهتز منه العرش. Says, get married and do not get divorced, because divorce, imagine all the other things I just mentioned, they're huge. I mentioned what? The crying of the orphan. I mentioned the death of a righteous man. I mentioned the praise of a fajr, of an immoral person. Also the one that gets divorced. It shakes the throne of God. Is what I'm doing worth this? Before I'm getting divorced, is it worth it? Is it purposeful? Is there a reason behind this? See, unlike other sects in Islam, marriage isn't so simple for the followers of Ahlul Bayt. See, other sects, unlike the other sects of Islam, marriage is very simple for the followers of Ahlul Bayt. Other sects, you need to actually get 2 just witnesses. You know that? You need to get married, you've got to get 2 just witnesses. For us, no. You don't need the 2 just witnesses. The marriage, if the woman is not married before, you need the permission of the father. And even if the father is not just to give his opinion, then the Hakim Shara will overrule his opinion. But we are in the business of getting people married. But when it comes to divorce, the other sects, he says, Yallah, inti taliq, that's it, she's divorced. Yeah, inti taliq, she's divorced. Whereas with ours, you need the 2 just witnesses. So by the time you would have sorted everything out before you get there and decide that I want to get divorced. Some men and women are dictators in their home. There's reasons for people to get divorced. So funny, 20 years ago you wouldn't have said some women. But this is what's become now. Men and women have now become dictators in their home. It's not only the guy. I don't recall, honestly, last time I had a woman come and say that, if you'd say in the last 10 years, probably once or twice, someone would say with no evidence that my husband hit me. But honestly, in the last 10 years, I don't think I can count how many women have hit their men. Yeah, hit them, really hit them. Like I've had people even clean slap across the face for the husband. Okay? This is the world that you're living in today. This is the type of people that are living around. And not just any Tom, Dick or Harry can witness the divorce. And with a revocable divorce, it's a slow process until the 3rd state of cleanliness, the husband can still take the wife back. Because we don't want divorce. We're going to try and fix it as much as we can. Okay, how do I avoid unnecessary divorce? Islam's always proactive. That's why we have taqwa. Why do we have taqwa? Why is taqwa present? Why do we tell people, attaqullah, be wary of God? Why do we tell people, من يدخل, the Imam says, من يدخل مداخل السوء يتهم. Whoever enters bad places will be accused. Why do we want to prevent people? Because once the damage is done, you know, prevention is better than cure. That's why you're told to do things and not wait till the damage has been done and it's irreversible. So how do I avoid divorce? I need to understand marriage before I get married. There's a popular proverb that says there is more to marriage than 4 bare legs in a bed. Because a lot of people, that's all they're thinking. You know, it's going to be Christmas after I get married every day. You know what I mean? Sunshine in the Bahamas. That's how it's going to be once I get married. That's how they're thinking. It's going to be so good, you know, every morning. Because a lot of the time, see, the problem is in the engagement. This is why engagement period is deceptive. I don't like engagement periods. That's why I get married before you discover things. The engagement period, most guys, what do they think? This happens a lot. And most guys and girls, they think, all right, we're together. We love each other so much. And then goodbye. He's with his friends. She's with her friends. And they're just enjoying this. And then when they get married, I have to actually live with this person. We want to leave. Where are you going? You know? What do you mean, where am I going? You don't own me. This is how they all start beginning these problems. So I need to understand marriage before I get married. And the onus is on you people to do these things. And us, the Rijal Din, we service what you guys do. You organize marriage workshops. These should be your tasks to counter. Marriage workshops, you organize events and you get the Rijal Din, they're the ones that teach. But you organize the events. You set them up where anyone that needs to get married, for example, has to attend a course. Has to attend a course to understand what marriage is. They're doing this for everything. For everything, they give you courses. And not only that, there has to be refresher courses. Don't they have refresher? You can't say, listen, I got first aid, and you look at it 1973. Have you had any refresher courses? No. You know? I just use a defibrillator for everything. You know? You need something. I need to understand what. That's why when you think, you think about it. Every course, when you do fire safety course, these fire safety courses that you do, and you do your refreshers, why don't they make you do a refresher for the white card? I've always wondered. You know? They don't make you do a refresher for white card, do they? No, they don't. Yeah. Because that white card was good. It helped me going into Bunnings during lockdown. But anyway, that's another story. The thing is, you need a refresher course. Firstly, we need to do a course for people to understand marriage. This is what we are. Here we're at service for people to do these workshops, and we're here to give refresher courses as well. When it comes to what marriage is. Not only that, we are religious advisors. You need to get professional marriage counselors to give these. We help them with what's the religious rulings. But you need to get professionals. Actual professional marriage counselors, Muslim marriage counselors, there are. Bring them, we give them the religious advice, then they give these courses on what works, because these are made from what? Studies on how the marriage stays together with the religious advice. Because a lot of the times, people don't understand what they're getting into. Like financial arrangements. They get married. Yarhamukumullah. They get married. And for example, the woman says, I got a phone call once from a sister. She said, I've been married for X amount of years. Sheikh, she said, isn't my money my money? Do I have to help with this money? You know? You always use the shut out when it's on your side. I said, it depends. She said, what? I said, what was the agreement before you got married? What was known? That you were going to work or not going to work? She goes, no, I was working. So I said, this guy, you know, we say in Arabic, ما زوجك لسواد عيونك. He didn't only marry you for the blackness of your eyes, you know, the darkness of it. He married you because you were going to, he was putting bread on the table and you were going to bring the corn, you know. There was money on this table. There was a finance, people say, hold on, no, there is financial agreements. It's not only, I want to be this person. What's this person bringing to the table? That's how people get married. So if he married you just on this, without knowing your financial disposition, without knowing what you're bringing to the table, and without considering this, then you can use this. It's like when a man comes up and says, if I get divorced, I get full custody of the kids. No, you don't. No, you don't. This is what you think if you're married in a normal religious surrounding and situation. You're not getting married like this anymore. There are different understandings. Every time someone gets married, they put a million shurut when they get married. So a million conditions in there. There's a lot of things that need to be considered. I had a sister call me once. She was married to a person of another sect. She said, my husband is Sunni, I want a divorce. I said, so when did he reveal to you his secret identity that he was a Sunni? You know, when did he reveal this to you? She said, I knew he was Sunni before I married him. I said, so this was a condition you took in and you got married. Now you're going to use this. You know, it's like, you know, we're from the same village and I'm going to go on her side and oppress this man. How am I going to oppress him? He married her under Sunnat Allah wa Rasuluh. This is the tradition of God and His Messenger. She agreed knowing that he's from a different sect. In this, I have to agree how I'm going to raise my child with this man. Before I get married, not during the marriage, something's not happening. You know, I don't want to marry him. Why? Well, he bought me the E300. I wanted the AMG. She's not going to say that. She's going to say he's Sunni. That's the answer she's giving. She's not going to tell you what you really want to hear just to get out. Another one is monogamous arrangements. You get women, from the beginning, they put a condition. Listen, you're not going to dilly and dally. You're going to stay at home. You know, and the guy, he's fresh, 6 months into the marriage. He's already on Tinder, on Instagram. He's flicking left, right, and center. Wherever he can find any dating site, he's on. He's trying to... Mate, you haven't even tasted the dah yet. You've only been with her for 6 months. You're already jumping from place to place. Some men come out. I know a guy, he said to his wife from the start, no, I'm going to marry more than one, right from the start. She said, yes. Many years down the track, she said, I don't accept this. He said, but he made it clear as crystal that that's what he was going to do. You know? She said, I never thought he would do it. I said, this guy was game enough to tell you. Think about this. Imagine you went up to some lady today and said, listen, I'm going to marry another woman. You know? Then you're walking out of the orthodontist or a maxillofacial surgery to reconstruct the jaw, whatever's left of it. This is what's happening these days. So say it right from the start and do this. Another problem when it comes to marriage is people have difficulty dealing with the opposite gender. Opposite, two genders. So have difficulty dealing with the opposite gender. Because they don't know how to deal with the opposite gender, they don't understand how they function. Simple things. These are things, you know, there's books written about how men think and how women think. These are true. These are psychological books. Look at them, how men and women, they think differently. Simple things I always tell people. For example, a woman will come and say to her husband, what's wrong with your brother? And he'll say, there's nothing wrong with him. She said, no. When he came over, he barely drank his coffee. He didn't have anything to eat. The guy goes, really? And then the next day, he finds his brother jumping off the gap or something. She's already picked up the signs. The guy has no idea what's going on. They don't pick. So when a guy says to his wife, is everything all right? She says, yeah. And he thinks, sweet, everything's all right. It's not the case. So a woman needs to understand that the guy lacks this. I need to communicate better when I'm speaking with him. He needs to understand, and the man needs to understand that when a woman gives you a half-hearted response, something's wrong. Communication, you're living together. This is what it is. The husband has to be treated in a certain way, and the wife has to be treated in a certain way. Okay. Another reason people don't understand in marriage is not for you. And it's not about you. Yes, part of it is for you. Part of it is about you. I can't be narcissistic where I am the central focus of this operation. You know, I enter the relationship and it's all about me. And even these are things that you'll learn, and we can't really go into detail, especially about the intimate life, you know. Now, sometimes I tell people, this is important. And sometimes people, when you're talking, think you're talking about the women. No. You know, it's not only the women that she's a frigid Bridget or whatever. The guy sometimes, you know, sails at half-mast and he won't go see Morpheus to seek the blue pill. Or maybe even the yellow one if he prefers. Or seeks... or to... So rather than solve the problem, what do? They put it off and they won't talk about it because you're questioning my masculinity. How dare you question my masculinity? It's an illness. Wake up to yourself. It's an illness. It's a different type of illness. It needs to be resolved. Otherwise, you're getting a divorce. You're going to have issues in your marriage. The other thing that causes problems, and I don't want to talk about, there's a lot of points I don't want to mention because they're in the other speech, because I don't want it to be on this, in the same subject. The other thing is, with communication with one another, you're talking to your wife, and to the woman, you're talking to your husband. This is your life partner. You know, not only is your life partner, many will be together in paradise. They will be together in paradise. Sometimes someone says, I don't want to be with her, or she says, I don't want to be with him. When she's up there or he's up there, you're going to change your mind. Because he's or her are going to drag the other one up with them, depending on the lofty position. So if you're the righteous person, you play your cards right, you're going to be there. It's for eternity to be with them. And we tend to overlook the faults of everybody. For God's sake, someone lets you in, you say thanks. You know, you're driving, someone lets you in, yeah, thanks. Press the hazards or whatever. Make sure he sees you and acknowledges you. You know, the Indians have a saying. They have a saying, the Indians. They say a man who says sorry when he is wrong is honest. And they say a man who says sorry when he's unsure is wise. They say a man that says sorry when he is right, he says, is a husband. Do you know why? Because they want to solve the problem. You know when people do, this is something, I laugh when someone does a silent treatment. I say, you're going to sleep on an empty stomach, if you understand what I mean, every night while you're silent. Okay? And a woman is Fort Knox. She can hold the front as long as she wants. And you're going silent every night. Why? You cause problems for yourself. Why? Why are you causing problems for yourself? You need to resolve this. Inshallah, people start working on getting something together with the workshop to begin with. And people do not, due to their deprivation, and when I say deprivation, I don't mean when someone's deprived. I mean when someone is depraved, that they want to go from one place to another. There was a woman, and actually I mentioned this story in my other speech, but I didn't mention it in this detail. This is not a tradition for us, not a narration from Shia books, a narration from the Sunni books, from Sahih Bukhari, where this woman was married to a man called Rufa'a. Rufa'a would walk amongst the men. He wasn't too good looking. Okay, and the woman, you know, when a woman's got a good looking husband, she'll tell the other women, that's my husband. She makes sure they know which one it is. When the husband's A-OK, she says, yeah, he's with the men, they're enjoying themselves, they're frolicking, you know. But Rufa'a just didn't stand out. But Rufa'a, you know, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. And Rufa'a was given. He was well given. This is according to the narrations. So anyway, their narration. So in the end, she left Rufa'a, okay, and she went with Abdul Rahman. Now with Abdul Rahman, obviously this Abdul Rahman isn't the Abdul Rahman that we know. La'natullah alayhi, the killer of Amir al-Mu'mineen. When she went with Abdul Rahman, she came back and she said, Ya Rasulullah, this is Sahih Bukhari, it's not our narration. But just to give you an idea, she went because she wanted to see where else she could find in the market. She said, this is what they say. And she says, okay, he carries, like, you know, the tassel you have from the jacket. That's what she actually mentions. So in the end, now this is Sahih Bukhari, this is something that's open to the public, yeah. So in the end, although she went on an escapade, she came out empty-handed. So sometimes, and this is why I want to bring you to the hadith, where the Messenger of God sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam says, Inna Allah azza wa jal yubghidhu aw yal'an kullu dhawaqin min al-rijal wa kulla dhawaqatin min al-nisa. So Allah hates and he curses, or he curses, he meaning he curses every dhawaq. You know what a dhawaq is? You know, someone that wants to taste from the whole, he goes from the whole banquet. So it's a man that keeps getting divorced because he wants something better, and a woman that keeps getting divorced because she wants something that's different. This is why I mentioned the story, because it's necessary that this is what some people do. They get divorced, they go, this guy's not cutting it. And obviously, it did get a bit higher rated, but this is the world we're living in today. The world that we're living in today, this is what people are moving in this direction, and this is what you are perceiving. So Allah Azza wa Jal there lets us know that it's something that He abhors and He curses those that move from place to place. So before I get married, I need to understand what marriage is. And when I get married, I need to understand how to maintain my marriage. And these, inshallah, should be done, and something people should be moving on. This is for whoever's listening, whoever centers, the people that finance these things, to move forward and get things done like this, because this is your children's future. After that, you're going to be in a world where people get married. You see them, they get married. Kat bikteb. I can count them for you. They're happy. They didn't even hate each other. No problem. Something so stupid. Something so simple, they get divorced. Something so simple. Something that is so meaningless. I can give you stories, but I don't want to offend people because they're still fresh. You know, they're not in the archives. But you will hear stories and you go, I cannot believe they divorced on this. And sometimes the man's at fault, sometimes the woman's at fault, sometimes they're both at fault. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to keep our families together and to keep those that intend on destroying families away from us. And may their lives and their families be destroyed. And may Allah hasten the reappearance of our master Al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan al-Mehdi. أرواحنا فداء. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم قل صلواتك ساعة وليا وحافظا وناصرا وعينا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. والأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والأرواح موتانا وموتاكم، ولقضاء الحوائج وقبول الأعمال وشفاء المرضى وغفران الذنوب وتعجيل الفرج وحسن العاقبة. رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.